chunks, and then we'll see how long that took. And
That's,
maybe,
yeah.
maybe try and or expand. So we'll just see how we go.
Cool. Well, we're running. That's
Okay. So could you describe the typical ecosystem services that a forest in Tanzania provides a local community?
Yeah.
So you're talking to Lee.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry. Yeah.
Talking to you?
Talking to me. Yeah,
Okay.
So
Yeah.
sorry, we should have said
It's,
that.
yeah, sure. Yeah, the forest ecosystems Tanzania typically provide several goods and services or ecosystem services that actually are of value to communities. I can put them in two broad categories: the provisioning services as well as cultural, and also regulatory services. On the part of provisioning services, we have products that are harvested by local communities from the forest ecosystems or woodland ecosystems that actually are of economic importance to them. Also, we have communities harvesting biodiversity from the forest ecosystems like game, meat, that also is of socio-economic importance to the local communities. But also we have water. Catchment forests are managed for water in Tanzania, and these ecosystems actually are very important as water towers that actually feed water to the lowland communities. And in that perspective, the water that comes from these forests can be used by local communities for either domestic use or even irrigation. Tanzania is so much advocating aspects of irrigated agriculture now, and that is of value to the local communities. Now, coming on the regulating services, we have the aspects of carbon capture. Forest ecosystems have high potential to capture carbon and mitigate climate change. But again, the aspect of carbon in terms of RED now, the current global issue in trading carbon, might be or is likely to be also beneficial to the local communities. That means in terms of managing a forest and trading the carbon that is managed. But then you have the watershed services. That is payment for watershed services. Communities managing these forests or government managing these catchment forests will likely benefit from payments that accrue from utilization of the service from lowland communities or lowland users, looking into it from the aspect of payment for watershed services or payment for ecosystem services related to water.
So that's just 3 minutes.
That was 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think that was very well done.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, all right.
Okay, so let's push on.
Okay. So how could climate change impact on forest ecosystems in Tanzania? What are some of the forecasts?
Yeah, climate change has probably diverse effects on forest ecosystems. One is likely to be a shift in different vegetation types. With the drying conditions and the climate change, evergreen forests might change into woodland ecosystems. And when this happens, actually it will affect the resident biodiversity. And normally, there will be an effect of species that are components of the ecosystem. That means we have species being affected in terms of their distribution, and I am seeing that species that will be more affected will be those which have poor migration capacity, species with low germination capacity, species that cannot have what I would say narrow range. That means their distribution is localized. So in that case, you have these species being affected because of the fragmentation of the forest ecosystems as a result of climate change. On the other aspect of the effect is, these are the forecasts I gave, But then you can have also reduced biodiversity. The biodiversity of the forest can be reduced because of fragmentation. And when you reduce biodiversity, then you are impacting on the products and services that can accrue from the forest for the communities. And in general, if you look at all these livelihood aspects of the forest ecosystems and the dependence of the communities on these forest ecosystems, when they are impacted negatively by climate change, you expect also the livelihoods to be impacted. All livelihoods dependent on the forest ecosystem will likely be impacted.
That's very good.
Yeah,
Cool. We've got that at about 2.5 minutes, so we're going perfectly. Yeah.
Okay, good. So now we want to move into the solution space and adaptation and what can be done. So could you give an example of a forest management program that is able to reduce some of these impacts?
Tanzania has adopted several, but I'll dwell on few of them. And
could you maybe just rephrase your response there, because
okay.
you answered me, so
Okay.
try and say, let me give some examples.
Yeah, okay.
So
Okay.
let's maybe just do that again. So.
Okay, hold on a second.